Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to participate in today's webinar. It's great to see we have a good turnout today. Before we begin, please take a minute to go through the do's and don'ts on the screen. The last few weeks have altered our perception of reality in several different ways. In the context of COVID especially, our collective efforts remain focused on delivering life-saving healthcare solutions where they're most needed. Our prayers are with everyone who's struggling at this difficult hour with widespread losses, loss of life, loss of income, and so on. Let's observe 5 seconds of silence in their honor. Thank you. So let's begin. In the fallout of COVID, business continuity remains a primary concern across the globe. This has redefined business operations in an entirely new light. In order to adapt to and function in this new normal, we need a paradigm shift in terms of how we think, design, and deliver services. All this cannot be achieved without a robust technology foundation that both overlines and underpins everything we do today as well as into the future. Today's webinar focuses on Cloud ERP, more specifically, SAP Business ByDesign. This is SAP's industry-leading end-to-end solution that's quick to implement and easy to configure. We need to talk about this technology now more than ever, given how it finds widespread application in today's new normal and how it serves to keep businesses agile and responsive in the age of uncertainty. Our host today is Asif Raj, who's a director of product development at Phoenix Business Consulting. Phoenix is a leading SAP services organization based in the US with 20 plus years of experience in helping organizations transform their business end to end through modern, fully integrated enterprise solutions. Asif is highly experienced in the technology spectrum, having spent about 18 plus successful years in the design, development, and delivery of market-leading technology products, including more than 15 years with SAP's flagship product suites. His work has been showcased in top technology events such as the 2015 SAP Partner Summit in Germany and Users Conference in Las Vegas. He is an expert on cloud ERP systems and has 2 patents to his name in template authoring systems and generic data retrieval. Before Phoenix, he has worked with technology leaders like SAP Labs, Oracle India, and Citel, where he donned various technology hats from developer to principal developer and lead architect, all with outstanding results. Thanks, Asif, for hosting this webinar on behalf of all of us. Before we begin, though, I have a question for you, and perhaps we can start there. For instance, we've been recently hearing that the lockdown is adversely affecting customer payments and related systems. Will all this be made easier by SAP Business ByDesign? That's my question. Over to you, Asif.
Thank you, Anjana. My pleasure to be here. Regarding the lockdown, what the lockdown has done is it has confined all of us into the boundaries of our home and forced us to carry out essential business operations within those boundaries itself. However, if you notice, work from home policies and remote working policies are being pushed across the industry, across various companies for more than a past decade or so. More and more employees are opting to work from home, opting to working from remote locations and traveling to remote locations. That has been happening all the time. But more and more employees are working from home based on various reasons. For various reasons, they are already used to working remotely. They are already used to carrying out their business operations from a remote location. By design, being on the cloud enables them to do that really in a really swift and smooth manner. Since it is on cloud, people can work whether they're in their home, whether they are at a remote location, whether they are visiting a factory floor, whether they are meeting with the client in a coffee shop or over lunch. They can still monitor their businesses, monitor the operations and everything from remote. So those people, they are already used to it, and they already have an advantage working out of office and using the power of SAP Cloud. Okay, so this is the lockdown. I mean, confined from working from home is not something new for them at all. They are already at an advantage here, and they know the nuances of not being working or not being in office. SAP Cloud is helping them to do it, and if they are used and accustomed to doing that, they are already one step ahead of everybody who is now discovering to who's now discovering the options and the boundaries of working from home. So in that way, yes, I think cloud is very, very beneficial. There's already two step ahead of everything in the world. Thank you. Um,
Thanks, Asif, for that. Can we open the floor for questions now? Okay, we have one from Ravi. Ravi, thanks in advance for your question. I'm unmuting your line. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Asif. Thanks, Anjana. So I'm Ravi. I'm the CEO of a manufacturing company where we manufacture APIs. We have plants in 2 states in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Uh, our annual turnover is about 200 crores. We have both domestic as well as exports. So my question to Asif is, will this product, SAP by Design, be able to cover everything from production to sales to billing and most importantly, taxation, that is GST?
Thank you, sir, for your question. Yes, as you know, by design is a cloud-based product. It's an end-to-end ERP system, and it provides 36 plus business processes straight out of the box. As soon as it is you've commissioned the system, these processes are ready for you to use. It is localized for India. That means it has all the accounting principles and taxation principles for India already built in and available to you by default. It provides warehouses by region. You can set up your operations. You can define your org structure in a way that you have offices in multiple geographies. You have in multiple locations. You have warehouses in multiple locations, and you are able to do logistics operations between those two locations seamlessly. You can even choose to set up those two companies as separate companies, and if you are transacting between them, it enables you the intercompany operations and intercompany finances by default. The UI scenarios are inbuilt and are available by default to the customers. Not only that, you can access these UI, you can access these UIs and operations from a remote system as well, or even from your handheld device, which could be your phone or tablet working outside, and you will still be able to access all these functionalities straight away. So yes, by design will enable you to do businesses and will be able to capture all of your processes straight running out of one single box.
Great,
Thank you,
thank you
sir.
so much, Asif.
Okay. On that note, I would like to give a brief introduction and a brief demo of the SAP Business by Design system, and just take you through how the system looks like and what are the basic operations and how it's arranged. Could you make me the presenter, please? Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay, so that was the login screen, and this is the home page. This is your default page when you log in into the SAP Business ByDesign system. On the home page, you have these small boxes which are known as tiles, and these tiles can serve as a shortcut to various operations, to the most frequent operations that you do on a day-to-day basis. They can also provide you snippets of the reports that you want to look at on a daily basis or on the most frequent basis as soon as you log in into the system. So, for example, these tiles allow you to open the alerts and the tasks that are pending on you. This could be the approval tasks that you have to approve. This could be an operation that you need to perform in a purchase order. This could be a goods received entry that you need to receive and mark it as complete in the system. It could be any of these. In addition to that, you see this is a snippet of the standard report in the system, which tells you basically sales targets projection and this is for this particular year. What are the orders and opportunities that are present for you in this particular year? So as soon as you log in, you get a brief view, and this can be completely customized to what your role is, what your function is in the system, and you get a brief overview of the numbers, and then you can decide what your next steps could be. As soon as you see here, if you click on this particular icon, it shows up this sidebar, menu bar, which basically is nothing but they're called work centers. This is the logical grouping of various operations in the systems. For example, if all the sales related operations are grouped under the view called sales order, all the invoicing related operations and options are available under the work center called customer invoicing. Everything related to purchasing is available here in sourcing and contracting, purchase request and order, supplier invoicing, and goods and service receipts. These are also color coded. So in case if you want to if you look on this left side, this is the small bar here. The blue represents your CRM-based modules, the purple your SRM-based modules, the orange are the dark orange shade represents your supply chain based modules. The yellow, mustard yellow stores about the finance based modules, and the little white here, these are the custom built modules that we have built, that Phoenix and other partners have built into the system. Okay, so one of them is a positive pay file generation, which is a requirement for a US banking operations. That's what we do. Okay, let me show you the orders screen. Sorry, not this one. Okay, and this is the most generic, most common pattern here that is utilized when displaying the data and working with the data. Okay, the sales order screen, it provides you the list of all the sales orders and all the most common attributes that you would like to see. And these attributes are configurable. You can change the order of these attributes through personalization. You can enable or disable some of the fields that you want to see or you want to work with in this or to work with when you work with this particular screen. So this is the most common pattern. It provides you an overview, a list of all the particular open objects that you have access to. There is data segregation inbuilt in the system, and what it means is you could create business roles, and each business role you could assign an access group which you could configure based on every region, based on every cost center, and then each region they would see the same view, but the data they would see would be applicable only for that particular region. For example, you have two companies, one in India and one in US. Okay, and everybody who's working in India should be able to see the orders only related to India. Everybody who's in US should be able to see the orders only connected to the US operation, the US entity, so that they don't really mix with each other. One person does not go and play around with the orders of other companies, because it is really no business but working with the US orders. So you would create two separate groups, and the data would then be bifurcated based on those two options. Okay. Now, going through, once we have seen the list of the orders, you see all on top here, these are all the buttons and these are all the actions that you can perform with respect to the selected item here. Let's say you want to take a look at this item. Let's see an open sales order here. If you click on the link, that will show an overview of the particular sales order that you have selected. And here everything is in read only. This is just to get a sense of what this order looks like. And you have a view all button that you could click, and it will take you to edit mode where you can make changes to various parts of the order. So most of the data objects are segregated on these pattern. You have the general tab where you can see the general and the header level information. You have the items tab here, the sales order, where you can see all the items that have been associated and are a part of this particular sales order. Then you have pricing information, and these four tabs are specific to the sales order level. However, these four tabs here, these are common tabs, and they are available across almost all of the objects. What they give you these are common tabs, and these are generic information. These are the generic features of this particular product. So with every particular document, you can see a document flow that tells us what are the preceding documents it is connected to, and what are the follow-up documents it is connected to. So for example, your sales order could be connected to a lead, could be connected to an opportunity, could be connected to a quote. And so you ideally, you would have a lead, you have an opportunity, you have a quote, you have an order, which will then convert into a goods, into a delivery, and then into an invoice, and then into payment. You will be able to see all those particular boxes and all those particular documents right here in the document flow, and be able to get a complete overview of the scenario, where things are originating from and where the things are going to. In addition to that, we have the changes tab here. This shows you the complete audit log of this particular order. Just with the default, this was just created once. There have been no change, so you can see the change date and time, and you can see who made the changes and what was the user ID, and you can see what are the changes have been done by this particular person. Most of them, you have an attachments tab. So if you have an associated document, you can attach it, and that document will be saved and served as part of this particular order. Let me quickly show an invoicing document where I will be able to show a lot of documents in the document flow. Let's see something. Okay, let's see this, and I click on edit. So again, you see here, the pattern is still the same. You have a uniform pattern across the system. You will see the list of all the objects. You will see the list of buttons that you want to work on. And once you open the details, you can click on view all, and you have again the similar pattern, similar uniform pattern on the top, where you can see various sections of this particular document. And if you go to the document flow, okay, this is a good example. So let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's zoom in. So here you can see this customer invoice. Now, if I'm looking at it from the top, I just see this particular invoice number. But in the document flow, I see a customer invoice. I can see that this invoice was generated because of an invoice request 541, which is actually coming out for a particular contract called 119. So these are all the connected documents in this process. And further, after the payment is done, I will see further options here, which take me to the payments screen. One more quick thing before we end this demo. If you see the folder icon here, if you see this folder icon here, this folder icon basically points to the journal entry that has been created as a result of this business transaction. So this journal, and so that's where you know that these are all in this entire chain of processes. These are the particular business documents that touch into the journal entries, and because of this particular entry has been created. So you, from each particular process, you have a link to go to the financials, and you can see what the impact has had, what's the impact it has had on the financials, what all accounts have been used, what are the amounts that have been associated with each one of them. Okay, and the similar flow basically goes on. The similar pattern, usage pattern, goes on for almost every transactions. Obviously, the number of processes before and after vary from what process you're working on and so on and so forth. And hopefully we can go into specific demos, going into specific areas. For the detailed demos, please tune in. We should have those entries later. Okay. Thank you, Anjana. We can move on with the questions again.
Okay, thanks for that demo, Asif. I think we covered quite a lot of ground right there. The document flow in particular is very interesting as well as practical. On that note, we have another question. This one is from Ramachandran Subramanian. Ramachandran, thanks in advance for your question. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Ramachandran Subramanian, Executive Director of an IT services company based out of Chennai. We have offices in 4 countries with about 600 employees across. We do software-based products and services. Our pain area is the tracking of timesheets with reference to the customer projects and appropriate milestone-based billing, projects, contracts, renewals, and general accounting. So the question here is that, Asif, what all features out of these can be handled by SAP ByDesign?
Great question. So I was just taking notes on the side. Basically, you mentioned multiple countries, and you need to maintain employees and their timesheets and projects spread across multiple geographies.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So as I mentioned earlier, ByDesign comes as a default configured. It has default configurations for almost 42 major countries in the world where most of the business transaction happens. And that means the accounting principles, the tax laws, the statutory compliances, the statutory reports, etc. These are all inbuilt and they come by default for all these organizations. They come with the processes as well. ByDesign also gives you the option to have it localized for approximately 130 plus countries where the localization has been developed by various partners. So if your country is not in one of those, it can easily be accommodated using a partner add-on, partner localization, what we call it. So, and it gives you the option to create an org structure. You could have an umbrella company, and below this umbrella company, you could create multiple companies, one for each of the countries, and you can maintain employee master data. You can maintain customer and vendor master data for each one of those companies separately. So ByDesign provides you all these capabilities and all these features by default. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to buy anything separately in the system. Projects, services, and contracts, these are one of the core processes of SAP Business ByDesign. So by default, the system allows you to create a project, assign employees to that particular project, and employees have the separate UIs and options to create timesheets and enter timesheets into the system. Those are, by the way, called really employee self-service plugins, which are really cost effective and really the cheapest of the options that we have. That means they don't really cost much, and employees can do their expense reporting, shopping cart entries, shopping cart requests, self-service requests, timesheet requests, maintain their bankings and attendance, all those things using those accounts. So you can create a project, you can assign employees to a project, you can once the employees execute, you can create their timesheets, and those timesheets could be converted into billing. Projects have multiple tasks, and where each task provides milestone-based billing. So as soon as a task is complete, a billing request is generated, and those billings could then be sent into invoicing, which then puts your numbers in the financials of the system. Okay. You can also maintain contracts and renewals. Again, these are standard features in the system, and you could have contracts, and based on the contract, you can do contract-based billing as and when you provide services to your clients. Again, these two, the contracts then culminate into invoices, which then touch into financials. And at the end of your quarter or end of your year, you can have a report come out of the system that will tell you the revenue that is generated per customer, per unit. You can even bifurcate it per month and run as many analysis as you want. Okay. So these are all standard features of the system, and because it is spread in multiple countries, it has options for multiple countries. It has option for intercompany billing, so you can even depute your employees from one country to another, one project to another, and perform intercompany transactions so that your numbers, financials, and consolidations all are perfectly in order. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thanks, Asif.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Asif. I think that's fairly comprehensive and useful, especially if you have a company with a global presence. So that's great. The next question we have is from Priya. Priya, thanks in advance for your question. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Priya here, and my question to Mr. Asif is,
Priya, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, Priya. I'd request you to state your industry and role as well, so Asif and all of us can get a bit of context. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll come again. This is Priya Basu from Kolkata, and I work as an IT specialist for one of the leading companies here. Now, my question to Mr. Asif is, what will be the typical implementation timelines and total cost of ByDesign?
Sure. Thank you, Priya, for the question. When we talk about SAP implementations, the standard, the legendary R3-based systems, they take about months, if not years, to get into a full implementation. And even then, at most times, there's still an ongoing development or ongoing process always into the question. With ByDesign, we have successfully able to bring it down to 16 to 18 weeks of an implementation cycle, right from signing the contract to going to the go live. Our cycle is only 16 to 18 weeks, which has the design phase, which has the build phase, which has the integration phase, testing phase, and go live phase. And then we move into the post go live support. That's all we need, because the system is pre-configured and is maintained on cloud. There's not really a lot of effort there. As far as the costing is concerned, it comes into a default package of 25 users plus the test systems, and that costs about 16 lakhs, but that depends from country to country, and we can have further discussions on that when we want to go live and when higher number of licenses are required. As far as licenses is concerned, we have 3 types of licenses: advanced user, core user, and the basic self-service user. So the basic self-service user is employee user, as I mentioned earlier. He would be able to do basic services, where the core user and advanced user would be able to carry out higher level functions. And advanced user is a super user kind of a thing, who would be able to configure and control and manage all the processes in the system. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Asif. We have one more question from Sanjay Patel. Sanjay, what's your question, please?
Yeah, hi, this is Sanjay from Gujarat, and ours is a manufacturing unit. Hi, Asif. I have a couple of quick questions for you. There's so much of disruption which is happening right now in all the industries, and in particularly in the manufacturing industry right now. So I would like to understand, one, how can Business by Design help my business cope up with these sudden changes? And number 2, how will it help in further expansion to meet my business growth?
Thank you, sir, for your question. As I mentioned earlier, ByDesign has inbuilt processes for manufacturing, product maintenance, product design, and vendor management. You could use all these processes to your advantage and keep multiple designed multiple versions of the products and multiple vendors in the system to quickly switch between your requirements and continue your production process. So, for example, the product design part, you could maintain multiple versions of a product design. You could where you could use parts. You could use the same part from different supplier or from different vendor, and have it available, and check the inventory and check their availability, check. You can do a forecast based on the purchase orders that you have you have placed in, you could see all that from one single view in the system, and based on that, you can plan your manufacturing processes. The system has a demand planning generation option that will allow you to forecast how much you want to produce and how much you want to manufacture going forward. Let's assume that one of your vendors is unable to supply a certain product that's a core component in your product that you're manufacturing. You could easily switch over to a different design, work with a different customer, and initiate manufacturing and production for the second design right away, procuring the items from the second vendor. So all this could be managed in the procurement module. There's a great sourcing and contracting module where you could, before you buy something, you could send out quotes to multiple vendors, receive the quotes, store them, make a comparison of them, and choose which one you want to use, which items you want to procure based on the cost. You can even connect these systems to an external design system, for example, Arena PLM, where you can configure product designs, have them approved by a third party, have them approved by the government if that's involved in the manufacturing process. You could have those designs configured in that particular system, and once it is confirmed, you could bring over those entries, you could bring over that latest product design to ByDesign and continue with the manufacturing process there itself. So don't worry about the disruptions. ByDesign allows you to maintain multiple versions. It allows you to have a lot of options where you could quickly switch from one to another and continue your business. You continue the manufacturing process with minimum disruptions as possible.
Thanks.
Okay.
I think that was pretty comprehensive. Thanks for your answer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Asif and Sanjay. I think these are all very critical features, especially for companies that wish to be highly adaptable, fast-growing, and efficient in the present volatile market conditions that we have. Anyhow, next we have Mohit Sharma on the line. Mohit, please go ahead.
Hi, Asif. Thanks, Sanjana. We are in retail sales and distribution area, and we have not invested on a lot of IT infrastructure. We run a few small softwares for our specific processes in our office. My question is moving to cloud right for my company? What do you suggest?
I think if you're running a retail business, definitely you have end-to-end processes, and you are running and you need an ERP system where you do your sales, where you do your inventory, where you do your financials, where you do your commission management, where you are having the marketing lead and opportunity generation. So you have all these multiple softwares, and because you're running multiple softwares, they are you need to bring them together at some point of time when you're doing auditing or when it's year end. At that point of time, either you are working with a third party to integrate and have running custom integrations for all of those softwares, or you are restricted to downloading all the data via Excel sheet and uploading into another system, then work there, download it from there, and upload into third system, so that everything is consistent and you have your year-end financials ready at the end of it. You need to avoid that, and you can avoid all of that by having just one cloud system, one ERP-in-a-box cloud system that does all of your processes in one particular system. The benefit is that everything is integrated, everything stays in one system. You can do all your reporting, you can perform your audit, you can take a look at the entire process chain of the business of business documents, what is connected to what is connected to what, how everything is being tied into financials. If something numbers are off in financials, you can immediately backtrack and look into which region or which particular set of orders there's a problem coming from. You need to have all of these systems tied up together for you to work efficiently. And when you don't have when you move all these out of your office location. You have more space in your location. You have more time on your hands because you don't have to worry about maintaining the system, because you don't have to worry about integrating all the data in these systems. And you can spend that time saved, you can spend that space and everything to expand your business, to focus on the really, really business critical functions that you need on your businesses. Okay, let's if you have people going out in the field, and ideally if you don't have a cloud-based system, and if your systems are located in the confines of your office, you have to bring those people. Those people would come in, they'll come back to the office, then provide their offline records to somebody who will then feed them into the system, and then you would have the data necessary for your business. A cloud system avoids all that, lets people have a real-time view of everything, no matter where they are, and uh, basically saves a lot of time, lot of energy, lot of resources on doing all these mundane tasks that you don't need to do. You could save all that, focus all your energies, concentrate all your energies on the business processes and expanding and furthering your business in spite of doing all these things. So yes, I would say cloud is definitely very, very helpful in your office. It could be a great addition, and it could be a great efficient problem solver for you, I think.
Thank you very much, Asif.
Thanks, Mohit, for your question. Whether or not to move to the cloud, that's a question on our minds today. And I think you've clarified that perspective very well, Asif. Great. We're getting a few questions on chat as well. Some of them are on recurring themes. So let's take them one at a time. I see a lot of the questions here are around the hardware aspect, specifically along the lines of I have not invested on hardware like servers and other infrastructure. How is that going to be impacted if I decide on this product?
Again, so if you do, if you have two options. Either you have hardware in your office, or either you have hardware outside your office. And outside your office means it's on the cloud, which is accessible from everywhere. If it's in your office, you can add, if you have hardware, you need to add more hardware to provide networks and routers and switches and reverse proxies and VPNs to be able to let your people working in multiple other offices or in field to access that hardware. You can avoid all that. You can avoid all that by having your hardware on the cloud. It's, it, I mean, it not just saves you space. It basically, you don't have to worry about hardware maintenance. You don't have to worry about the deploying a huge manpower for to maintain those hardware. All those could be efficiently managed by somebody else, and when it is in cloud, all the space that you're using for that, there is budget involved, there is space involved, and last but not the least, you still have to pay commercial electricity rates to run all those stuff out of your premises. You do a cost benefit analysis and compare. On one side, keep all these costs in together, and on other side, keep SAP Cloud, which guarantees you a 99.6% uptime. So in your office, if you have a downtime, you lose electricity, you use power, you literally have to run around getting your inverters ready or your generators up to the mark to have everything running, versus SAP Cloud, of course, does it automatically. You don't have to worry about it. They actually give you in the contract of in the SLA of 99.6% uptime that you will have to spend considerable amount of time and energy, which ultimately translates into money to be able to get them running onto your premises. So I would say take these calls. Instead of having hardware in your office, instead of having multiple systems in your office, think about everything in one particular box running on the cloud. It's somebody else's headache, and they will allow you, they will give you a contract, and they will give you the assurances that these will be running securely and on the cloud with a huge amount of uptime. So based on that, take the call, and I'm sure SAP Clouds has a real good advantage in those terms.
That makes sense. Okay, so cloud is definitely the answer, and it's where everyone is moving to these days, and with good reason, as you can see. But what about businesses who already have an ERP in place? Does it make sense to replace it with SAP Business by Design? That's also a much asked question.
So if you already have an existing ERP system and it's not on cloud, I would suggest that let's do the comparison. Okay, if you have an older ERP system from the year 1990s or 2000s, I'm assuming Tally is a very common financial software. While that's being used, while it runs great, it does the job. However, running, excuse me, sorry about that. However, running Tally and making it integrated with all the other softwares that are running in your office, that has been quite a challenge. Okay, you need to again you need to uh, either rely on third-party integrations, or you need to build those integrations yourself, but those are running outside the system, and you will have to again invest in more hardware to keep those integrations running, or you want to keep the data in Excel files outside the system and use manual upload download processes to transfer data from one system to another. Most other ERP systems, they do provide a piecemeal information, whether it's a CRM system. So Salesforce makes a great CRM system. Tally is a great financial system. For fixed assets, I'm sure you can find a couple of examples, like WASP is one of those systems. So you could have these systems running individually and running piecemeal, but you need a system that works together, that everything works seamlessly together. And it's an added advantage if everything is one secure location, is in one box, so that you don't have to worry about all these integrations, all these data transfers. Everything happens smoothly. And when audit happens, at that point of time, you need to be able to backtrack and go down to the individual transaction level, track what is the originating system, where this data came from, what are all the various possibles which form up that particular number in that GL account, so that you can backtrack, understand, and provide evidence to the auditors where everything is coming from. One single integrated system in a box does this job much better than multiple distributed systems located on your premises. This not only saves time, when you're doing an audit, it also provides you all the background information, all the backtrack information. And what happens when you have to replace one of those systems with a new systems? Do you lose all that information, or again you have to go back to archives and bring those information, and then try to match it with the financial information, or the fixed assets information in two different systems? So it really makes sense to have everything in one system, everything in one box, so that you can be free of the worries, and you don't have to think about those things when audit comes or when something goes wrong. My apologies on the background noise a little bit. I'm sorry about that. Those are a few disadvantages of working from home, I can see, but the working in the cloud-based system surely outweighs that, I hope. Thank you.
That's an interesting analogy, Asif. We're also getting a few questions on configurations and integrations. For example, for companies that are built on, let's say, newer business models, or companies that require a lot of custom developments, how suitable is SAP Business by Design in those contexts?
Thank you. This is my favorite topic, me coming from a development background. By Design provides you, along with along with the system, it gives you access to the SAP Cloud Application Studio, where you can make changes to the product, you can extend the product, and you can create you can create as little as just a couple of fields on an existing screens of the product, to creating completely new screens, to creating a brand new process altogether, that touches multiple business objects and multiple data points, that is used by 6 different people from 6 different departments in your organization. It provides you all the capabilities of making the smallest of the changes to the largest of the changes. It also lets you create brand new data sources, brand new reports, apart from the 450 plus existing reports in the system. If you need more, you can create more reports. You can combine more data in whatever way you want, whatever makes sense for your business, and build brand new reports. You can by design also creates APIs for almost every transaction that happens in, and those APIs they are standard SOAP-based and REST-based web APIs that can be used to connect to multiple different systems across the globe. And using the Cloud SDK, you can create your own APIs. You can create brand new APIs to connect to other systems in your landscape if you have. So we have been able to successfully connect by design to the core HR system called SuccessFactors. We have a direct integration from SAP Concur, which is the travel and expense management system, to the by design system. We have a direct connection. We using these APIs, we can connect Boomi to by design, and Boomi, as you know, is a global connector, which again has connection points to many different systems as you want. So you have all the options. You have a lot of flexibility. You can use the SDK to even make it more flexible and enhance and build brand new processes as much as you want.
Thanks,
Okay, thank you.
Asif, for that. Well, we are almost at the end of the session, but there's still a lot of questions being asked. But unfortunately, we are running out of time. The good news for everyone is that we are planning more sessions in future as well, and we hope to cover more ground in these sessions. Before we go, we do have room for one last question on chat. And this question is, does SAP Business ByDesign meet the requirements of Indian taxation laws? And can it handle transactions, including GST, efficiently?
Absolutely. So, good question. Thank you. As I've said earlier, by design comes pre-localized for India. That means all the accounting principles, the statutory compliances, the statutory reports, etc., are pre-built for India, which includes GST-based configurations also. So you can create as many tax types as you want. You can load all the taxation rates for various commodities in the system, and when you are doing the transactions, whether you're creating a sales order to your customers, or a purchase order from your vendors, the system automatically, based on the commodity that you've ordered, system automatically applies the GST rates that are present in the system. And once this whole entry is turned into an invoice and touches the financials, the GST related payments are stored into the specified GL account. Not only that, once all this process is over, at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, if you choose to, you can download all these transactions in the standard format. There's a standard report available that gives you India GST numbers. What are the transactions? Where the transaction came from? Who is the customer? Does the customer have a GST number? Does the vendor have a GST number? Of course, they should now, to make it compliant. And what are the total net amounts of the orders, and what are the tax amounts that have been collected? And this comes in a format that is downloadable and can be directly submitted to the Indian government tax website. Phoenix is working on a solution that will make this process automated. So in the next 6 to 8 weeks, please, on the SAP App Store, we should have a solution published that will basically, where you will be able to see all those GST transactions in the system. You don't have to download it. On the system, there will be a connected automated link to the Indian government website, where you will be able to submit the service tax, and at the click of a button, it will be converted into an XML format and posted onto the government, posted to the government. So this process will be automated. That's an add-on solution that Phoenix is working on, and hopefully we will be able to release it on the SAP App Store in the coming 6 to 8 weeks.
Great.
Thank you.
If you have any further questions, please write to us at marketing@phoenixteam.com. You can see that right there on the screen. You can also call us on the number listed on the screen. On this note, I'd like to thank all the participants for attending, for asking questions, and for giving us your valued time. I also extend my thanks to Asif for his detailed overview and walkthrough, and overall a very insightful discussion on every level. Last but not the least, the technical team who worked behind the scenes to ensure everything went smoothly. That's not an easy task in the current scenario. Our sincere thanks to you. As we wrap up, I hope all of you have a good week ahead. Thanks again, stay healthy and stay safe.